Hello everyone, Charles Watts here. Welcome back to Inside Arsenal. It is Thursday. We're getting towards the weekend. One final weekend of Premier League action, of course, until another international break. The second one of the season already is coming around pretty quickly. So Arsenal want to finish this period on a high on Saturday. And if they do that, and I mentioned it in yesterday's show, I think that's been a fantastic period between the two international breaks, especially when you consider all the issues that Arsenal had to deal with in terms of player absences, injuries, all of that sort of stuff. So one big push left to go on Saturday. We're going to talk about that a little bit probably in today's show, but I think I'm going to focus more on that in tomorrow's show. Look at some of the big decisions facing Mikel Arteta. Is it time for any changes? That sort of thing we'll talk about in tomorrow morning's show. Mikel's press conference is tomorrow afternoon at London Colney. I'll be heading there. It's 1:30 p.m. UK time. So I'll do a usual show in the morning. Then I'm going to head off to London Colney and hopefully do sort of update show after that, depending on what Mikel Arteta has had to say. And later on today, in fact, about 1 p.m. UK time, myself and James Ben just sitting down to record Inside Arsenal Extra Time. So if you want to get involved in today's show, you've got a couple of hours. If you're watching this video early doors, you've got about a couple of hours. If you're watching this video after 1 p.m. UK time, then there's no point sending in a question or a comment because we've already recorded. The show will be going out about 5 o'clock, usual time for Extra Time, but we're recording at 1 p.m. So if you're watching this early doors and you want to get involved with your comment, your opinion, anything like that for myself and James, and you know what to do, get into the comments. Start with Inside Arsenal Extra Time or Extra Time, and then give us your questions. Right, what are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about Gabriel Jesus. I've had so many comments in the last 24 hours on here, on my other social media pages about Gabriel Jesus and are you worried about Jesus, that sort of thing. So we're going to talk about Jesus. We're going to talk about Mikel Merino as well, who has been saying some interesting stuff, I think, in following his debut for Arsenal in midweek against PSG in the Champions League. So look at what he's been saying, sum up the sort of Champions League after yesterday's events, and also answer some of your questions and comments that you guys have been sending in. So let's start with Jesus. As I said, as Romain here has got in touch and said, is it just me or does Jesus seem to be playing a bit selfish whenever he's subbed on? And lots of you are getting in touch as well, asking if you're worried about his form, what's going on with Jesus, can he get back to his best? Lots of comments about that. And I think it's a decent talking point, to be honest, because I think the last couple of substitute appearances for Jesus certainly do seem to show a player who is, I mean, there's no doubt he's searching for his best form, but I mean, there's no real surprise in that, I don't think. It's because he's just come back from injury. He's not played any games. But the thing that I look at when I see Gabriel Jesus at the moment is a player who's just trying to impress. He's trying too hard to impress in the short amount of time he's on the pitch. And maybe he thinks he has to because he can see how well the team's performing. And he thinks, I've only got 15 minutes on the pitch here. I need to do something to show to Mikel that I'm capable of performing in the Premier League. And so he just seems to be taking a few too many touches. And as you say here, Romain, seems to be, you sort of look at it and think you're a little bit selfish perhaps because he's taking those extra touches where he could play someone in. You looked at the weekend game where he got the shot away eventually that led to Kai Havertz's goal, but did he really need to go the way he did? He could have just played the simple pass. You had Sterling and you had Havertz completely open. The chance would have been a lot easier. He almost got away with it a little bit. The fact the keeper spilled his shot and then the clearance deflected into Havertz and it ended up in a goal. Had that not happened, I think a lot of people would have looked at Jesus and thought that you took the wrong option there. It was a similar story, I thought, against PSG when he came on. He had one opportunity potentially to play the ball to Saka, didn't take it. He took a couple extra touches, got robbed in the penalty area. Again, it ended up resulting in a chance because Saka did get the ball eventually and recycled it to Gabriel Martinelli, who had a shot saved. There was another point where he got down the right in loads of space and he just he drove into the penalty area. He looked to be decisive in that moment, I thought, but he sort of stumbled, lost control of the ball and the chance had gone. Everything you're seeing with Jesus at the moment, I think, is a player who's trying to impress. So I agree what you're saying there, Romain, in terms of maybe playing a little bit selfish. But I think he's doing that because he knows he's under real pressure to perform right now. And I do look at Jesus. I'm not, in relation to some of the other questions I've had on Jesus, are you worried about Jesus? Obviously, you want Jesus performing. You want him scoring goals. I mean, he hasn't scored for Arsenal since that game against Nottingham Forest last season, which was January, February time? I can't remember what it was, but it was a long time ago. But that kind of summed Jesus up. That he was man of the match that day. He scored one, set up the other goal, and you thought, oh, this is Jesus looking back to his best. And then he got injured and then missed the next few games immediately after that one. And it's the story of Jesus' time at Arsenal, certainly the story of Jesus' time at Arsenal since he got that injury at the World Cup in his first season at Arsenal. So am I worried? I don't know. It's a tough one to answer if I'm worried. I can see Jesus scoring a goal very, very soon and performing, but he just needs to stay fit. He just needs to have a big period of time now where he can stay fit. Like I liked his performance, albeit against Bolton, a League One team in the Carabao Cup. Again, he didn't score in that game, which is a shame. And I think you could see a player there who was desperate to score. But I liked his all-round performance in that game. He looked sharp, I thought. I just think he needs a goal. You know, not long ago we were talking about Martinelli, and like, he just needs a goal to go in, or he needs assist. He needs something to happen in the final third to spark him into life. He's had that now, and his form looks much, much better. And I kind of look at Jesus and think he just needs something to happen for him. If he does, he will relax a little bit. Then maybe everything won't be so rushed. Then maybe he won't be taking an extra touch and trying to do something for himself, where he could just play the simple pass. He just needs something to happen for him. You know, he's a quality player. There's no doubt he's a quality player. Is he Arsenal's main man anymore? No, that ship has sailed. It's absolutely gone. Kai Havertz is Arsenal's starting striker 100%. If he's fit, he plays every single big game for Arsenal. No doubt about it. Jesus has to make do with a substitute, being a substitute at best, and then coming in potentially for some rotation in the odd game or two if you need a start. Do I think Jesus could well potentially leave the club at some point fairly soon? I think if an offer came in, I don't think Arsenal would be absolutely insistent on standing in his way and blocking the move. I think there's, when you look at where Arsenal could potentially upgrade the squad in the next couple of seasons, the next couple of transfer windows, I think that's an area that might happen. And that again shows the remarkable ascent that Arsenal have been on since Jesus and Zinchenko have come to the club. Both were seen as game changers, you know, level raisers when they signed for Arsenal. And now, just a couple of years later, basically they're both looking like they're on the fringes of things. And it just shows how much Arsenal have improved. So I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing, but I do think while he's still here, that Jesus does definitely have a big part to play. And that's why I think it would be so beneficial for the team, for Mikel Arteta and for Gabriel Jesus, for if he could just score a goal. And I just think you'd see that weight of expectation, that weight of pressure almost just lift off his shoulders. And then the most important thing after that would just be to stay fit, to have a consistent run of games, whether that be substitute appearances, the odd start when needs be, just to get himself back to the top sort of form. So they're my thoughts on Gabriel Jesus. Love to get your thoughts on him as well. As always, anything you've agree with, disagree with in terms of what I've just said, get into the comments and let me know your thoughts on it. Okay, moving on to Mikel Merino now, who obviously made his debut in the Champions League in midweek. Fantastic to see him back a lot earlier than many of us expected to see him following that injury. He's been speaking a lot in the mix zone after the game against PSG about the injury, but also how he's felt, how he's found things since he's arrived at Arsenal. I think this is a really, really interesting comments from Merino, and again, sums up a lot of why some players, new players especially, will take some time to adapt to their new surroundings. So this is what he had to say about Arteta and Arsenal and what he's found since he's arrived. He said, it's something that is amazing, to be honest with you. They do some things that I have never seen in my career. The methods that they use are completely new to me. So obviously it takes some time to adapt. I don't want to tell everything that we do, but there is no rest between one moment and the other. They are always challenging you mentally and different stimuluses. It makes you always, all the time, aware of what is happening around you. I think that when you get it, you're on a different level because they challenge you every single day, not only physically, but mentally. That makes you sharper mentally. And that's what you're going to find out in the games. Really interesting stuff there, I think. And it is so many players that I've spoken to at Arsenal when they come, say initially when they arrive and start working under Arteta, they're just blown away by it. I mean, Declan Rice said it. I remember sitting down with Tommy Asu and he said exactly the same thing. He said it took him a year to really understand what Arteta wanted. And that's why you saw that massive jump in improvement in the team, from the team sort of battling for potential Champions League place for suddenly a team that was going for the league title, because they just understood what he was asking of them. And when you see someone like Merino, an experienced international at 28 years old, he's played in different countries. He's, Spanish international, and then he arrives at 28 and says, I've never seen anything like this before. Again, it just shows how you have to wait, I think, adjust and give players time to adjust. He also said, actually, Marino, that he's a much better player now in the space of a month than he was when he arrived at the club, which is quite interesting. On his injury, he said it was tough to recover from that mentally. Everyone here at the club was really nice to me, really lovely. You could feel the love and support of everybody. It was such an unlucky moment. If you see the action, it's just, I mean, I haven't seen an injury like this ever in my career. But, well, those are the things that happen. Obviously, it was not the best timing, but at the same time, I like to look at the pros and the bright side of it. This gave me a lot of time to think, to get to know my teammates, to get to know the staff, work on myself, the things I need to do in terms of tactics, in terms of physicality. And I think I'm a much better player now than I was 4 weeks ago. So interesting stuff, I think, from Marino, who it was great to see him involved in midweek. I'm sure we'll see him involved again at the weekend. I can't imagine he'll start. It'll be eased back into things. I hope that Spain don't call him up during the international break. I hope that there's a little bit of sensible thinking done there and they give him another couple of weeks to really get back towards top form, top fitness, more importantly, so he can be on it when the international break is over. So I think we'll probably maybe see half an hour, and it'll be very interesting to see how that midfield pans out in the coming weeks as everyone gets fit and up to speed. I thought there was some promising signs for him. I mean, he clearly looked quite a way off it, I thought, when he came on against PSG in terms of being up to speed. But he still, I think, it was 4 out of 6 duels he won despite that. And there were some really good signs from him as well. So once he gets himself fit and match ready, hopefully we're going to have a really good, impressive player on our hands there. But yeah, interesting comments, I thought, from Mikel Merino. Right, you have to squint to make out where Arsenal are on this because the ridiculous size of this league table. This is how the Champions League is. After 2 games, Arsenal perfectly poised down there in 13th place to pounce as it all goes on with 4 points from 2. The top 8 there made up of Man City, Juve, Villa. What a win that was for Villa and Unai Emery yesterday. Fair play to them. Liverpool, Leverkusen, Benfica, Brest and Borussia Dortmund currently top the rankings. Arsenal down there in the playoff places right now with 6 games to go. Fantastic night at Champions League yesterday. Some brilliant games. As I said, Villa, superb. Emi Martinez, what a performance that was from him in goal for them, keeping out Bayern Munich. And then Jon Duran. I keep thinking every single week to bring Duran into my fantasy team, but then I keep thinking he can't keep coming off the bench to score a goal. And the moment I do bring him in, no doubt he would stop scoring, but he's unbelievable. And what finish that was yesterday for him. And like I said, Martinez keeping him in. And that's what you need in Champions League. I mean, on another day, Bayern Munich win that fairly comfortably, given the quality of the chances that they created, but they didn't take them. Martinez made the saves he needed to, and then you always got a chance up the other end. So fantastic win for them. Congratulations. What a night that was at Villa Park. Brilliant game. Juventus versus it was like the battle of the Arsenal striker targets, or former Arsenal striker targets, Leipzig versus Juventus, wasn't it? You had Sesko scoring twice for Leipzig. You had Vlahovic scoring twice for Juventus, who won it with 10 men. Conceição scoring that goal. Some really good nights really good games in the Champions League, I thought, last night. So that's how the league table is. Young boys, Bratislava, Salzburg, currently propping up Milan down there with no points from the first 2 games, struggling a little bit. Atalanta had a good win yesterday as well, which saw them move above Arsenal on goal difference. And you think back to that first game of the season, first game in a group stage. Well, it's not a group stage, but you know what I mean? Arsenal versus Atlanta. There's a lot of criticism leveled at Arsenal for that 0-0 draw. But I think when you see what they did yesterday and the goals they scored, it shows it wasn't a bad result at all over in Italy. Okay, moving on to some of your questions and comments. Finsbury Phil here says, I'm not sure why we felt we had to go that defensive in the second half. He means against PSG. Yes, we could have been more cautious than in the first half. But setting up that deep does mean that a slip or mistake or a deflection can lead to a goal as per City. I'm not sure they went that defensive. I don't think it was necessarily Arsenal doing it completely because they wanted to do that. I just think PSG started getting on the ball a lot more. I think Arsenal tired, and so the logical thing to do was, right, okay, let's not put, we've got a good lead here. Let's make sure we don't do anything stupid. Let's rely on our quality, which is our defence, our top quality. But I still think Arsenal had the better chances in that second half. It wasn't like they just sat deep and didn't try and attack. They did try and attack, and when they attacked, they could create some really good opportunities. They just didn't take them, unfortunately. And when you're playing PSG, I mean, this is, top seed in the Champions League from Pot A. There's going to be periods, there's going to be 20, 30-minute periods in games, even at home, where you're not going to have much of the ball and you're going to have to work really hard to get through those periods. I just think that's what Arsenal did against a very good team. Yes, they're a young team. Yes, they don't have the attacking threat that perhaps they've had in previous years, but they're still a decent team, PSG, a more than decent team, PSG, and they're going to cause everyone problems who they play at some point during the game. And they had 20 minutes in the second half. Arsenal dealt with it, kept them at arm's length. And then I thought the last 15 minutes, they were really, really comfortable in that game. So, yeah, I don't think they went overly defensive for the second half. I just think it's the way the game state took the match. Vet Paris talking about the fullbacks here in relation to what we were discussing yesterday. He says, I agree that Calafiori is something else. There were pieces of his game when I was looking at him and he was inverting into a number 10 position ahead of the midfield. Would love to see his pitch map. Some of the attacking positions he takes up are so unconventional. It's almost awkward. Timber's special talent, aggressive and capable with the ball at his feet. Love the Laurent comparisons. Yeah, it's really hard not to look at Yuri and Timber, isn't it? And not see shades of Lauren. Just the aggressiveness, the one-on-one quality, does get forward, get on the overlap as well. There is definitely similarities there, no doubt about it. You say Ben White's going nowhere. Agree. He says, think what he was asked to do physically last year was so underrated. Can't help but hope he is rehabbing in Dubai. How is anyone forgetting how good he was after the break last year? Kivior's been really good last couple of appearances. Think he realizes he doesn't step up, then the train is going to leave him behind. Hope the extra depth has allowed Tommy time to rehab properly. What a player he is when he's fit. Not even mentioned Zinchenko and Tierney yet. Incredibly tricky period of the season, pretty well navigated. I would say, yeah, 100%. And exactly the Ben White stuff. This is perfect now. As long as this injury, and we don't know the full extent of Ben White's injury, we're hoping it's nothing serious. I'm just hoping this is just a period where they've said, look, Timber's here. You've got an issue that you're struggling with. Just take a bit of a break. Take some time. Get yourself ready, because he has been totally overplayed, because there was no other option really, because of the injury we had to Timber last season. Ben White played so many more minutes than Arsenal would have wanted him to, Arteta would have wanted to, but he had to, and he played through the pain barrier for Arsenal, and they managed that injury. They got him through the season. He was fantastic after Dubai last year, but now is just a really good opportunity just to give him enough time to add a breather, to get that knee fine, and then to come back again and go again. And when he does, he's going to play an awful lot of minutes. And it's going to be fantastic for Arsenal to have quality of those players, with Tomiyasu coming back as well, to be able to rotate and manage everyone properly, which is something they just have not been able to do defensively anyway over the last couple of seasons. Just one here from Cheesy Gunner. Now, I flagged this because I'm going to talk about this tomorrow. I think you're saying a bit surprised, Mikel, didn't you, Sterling in the PSG match? Any thoughts as to why? Maybe I think it's just, I just think he was probably looked at what Martinelli was doing and thought Martinelli looked like a threat, and didn't think Sterling really needs to come on. But also it might be with a view to what's going to happen this weekend. So we're going to talk about it tomorrow's show in terms of what he might do this weekend. Does he need to make changes? Is this time to make changes just before the international break at home to Southampton, the third game in a week for Arsenal? I mean, PSG was on Tuesday night, so it's not exactly like there's not been any rest time. There's been a fair bit of rest time. Do you just go with the same team again, get through to this one, then go into international break? Or do you make changes potentially? Ethan Nwaneri, Raheem Sterling, Gabriel Jesus, players like that, do they need some minutes? Is this a time to rotate and to ensure that the squad gets enough minutes? Because that is a good debate, because what we were talking about at the start of the show in terms of Gabriel Jesus and something needing to happen to him, the more he's on the pitch, the more chance he's got of something good happening to him. And then that could be really, really beneficial for Arsenal going forward if he were to score a goal. But does he need more minutes to have that opportunity to score a goal? So let me know your thoughts on that as well for tomorrow's show. Changes against Southampton? If so, who starts? Who should come in? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Right, that's it from me, everyone. Thank you very much for your time. As always, I really do appreciate it. If you saw it at the start, obviously, I hope you did. Inside Arsenal Extra Time coming a little bit later on today. You've got a little bit of time to get your questions and your comments in. 1 p.m, we are going to sit down and record UK time. So if you're watching this before then, get your comments in. Start it with Extra Time. I'll pull them together and get them included in today's show. Thanks for watching, everyone. Have a great day. Speak to you soon. Bye-bye.